excited. First of all, we have our beach friend. You know, they have the beach potatoes. We have here our beach friends here, Dr. Beverly Granger. Won't you join me in welcoming her? Who we affectionately call BB. And we have Danielle Lagarde, the daughter of one of our previous guests. Let's welcome her. And she's my Alita. She is my granddaughter, so we are so excited to have you. Dr. Granger is a potter, and Danielle is a graphic artist, and so we're going to be celebrating the arts because you are so talented. We've gone to some of the Sag Harbor events where your works have been displayed, so tell us how you got into pottery or being a potter.
Well, when I first finished college, I was a teacher, and I had off in the summers. So I started taking lessons in a studio down in DC and loved it. So kind of became, that was when I was in,
Okay, you'll see.
that was right after I graduated college, obviously, many, many years ago.
Yes.
So I continued as a hobby potter, taking lessons and working in other studios. But my goal was always, as life evolved and I went to dental school and I was practicing dentistry, my goal was to retire and pursue my passion for pottery. And part of that was looking forward to moving here and living in Sag Harbor and doing that.
Awesome, awesome.
You know, Sag Harbor is a place with the light and nature and the tranquility that it really does encourage creativity. So it's where I wanted to be, and that's where I am now.
And some of the pictures are attributed to John Penderhughes?
Yes, John Penderhughes took that picture for me.
Awesome, and we're going to thank him as well.
Yeah.
Danielle, we also want to make sure the next generation is featured, and you are a graphic artist. You went to school where, and what did you study, and how did you end up in this career?
So I went to school at SUNY Purchase. I also grew up in Sag Harbor, which the public school was really very adamant on like having a great culture and knowledge of art, and really like inspired me and also nurtured me. So I went to SUNY Purchase. I studied graphic design. I also studied silk printing and printmaking, which is what I do now. So really quite amazing that I have a career.
We're going to see some of your works as well.
Yeah.
So what inspires you? What do you like to, what's the proper word, not draw? What does a graphic artist do?
So I work a lot with Photoshop, a lot of InDesign as well, just because I also love working with words and typography as like a way of not just showing, like putting words into like pictures and making it so that the colors invoke something. I've always been inspired by Josef Albers, who's a color theorist, and I saw his house and all of his work, and it was something that I deeply like ingrained itself in me. And all of my work so far since I've been in college has always been something that I do with color. It's something that like we all work with, we all see, we're all always wearing color, we're always noticing things. How can we make it so that color is like a way of inspiring us, just working through it?
So what do you notice when you start making pottery? What is it that, it's your passion, but what do you see?
I see a pile of basically mud that you can form into something, and it's just awesome to watch it come up into a wonderful shape that has pleasing form, that is something you can use, something you can decorate with. And it gives me great satisfaction to just see it come up, the feel of the clay going through your hands. It's a very earthy and grounding experience. And like Danielle says with the color, after you've made the pot, you get to do things with color and combine glazes to get different effects, to make them move on the pot and bring it to life. So that's really, it's just a very zen experience for me.
I love it. So while you were in dentistry as a dentist, you had this passion that was bubbling up inside of you. Were you able to do any of it while you were being a dentist?
Oh, absolutely. I had a studio in my basement, so at night I would go down and do some work.
Okay, so you had like a woman's den. Did you have like a woman's cave where you,
Yes.
where you went and did your
It
graphic
really,
work?
that's really what it was
Yeah.
like, but it was very dusty.
I love it, but you were in the earth. You were
And
rocking.
Danielle was just telling me that she really loves ceramics too, so she understands what that expression is. It's, you know, it's nice to be able to get the form and the balance and the aesthetics together
Mhm.
for something that people will appreciate.
Yeah.
And I want people to see my work, to appreciate it, and to use it. You know, it should go in their kitchen and they should use it every day and enjoy it.
So when they're at the different events and they're purchasing your work, how do you know they appreciate it? What do you see in them? How do you sell it? How do
Well, you know, there's this adage that if people pick up something, it means they like it. Otherwise, they walk by and look and say, yeah, that's nice, that's nice. But once they pick it up and get a feel for it, the balance, they kind of, you can kind of tell.
I love it.
Yeah.
And Danielle, you had a couple of exhibits, correct?
Yeah.
Where were they?
I was in Art and Soul Hamptons last year where I showed some of my graphic works. A lot of the times I work on the computer, but because I'm also a printmaker, I like to hold it. I like to see it. I also like to see what the colors are looking like in real life and not just on the computer screen. So I was able to print some work. I've been featured in a couple of magazines as well.
Yo, say it, girl. This is your chance. Say, which magazines? Talk to us.
I was featured in Bronze Magazine last year as well, a part of Art and Soul Hamptons. I have some friends that have a beautiful food magazine. It's called Digest, and I was featured in there, and I also kind of did a poem as well.
So what's your dream? Okay, you've had exhibits. You're doing what you love, what you're passionate about. What are your dreams?
To continue what I'm doing, and to stay healthy enough to keep it up. One of the things that, there are other things I'm pursuing. We have Celebrating Creatives of Color, so I've been working on that with other members of the community. We have this show, and we ought to get Danielle to be in it.
Definitely.
We feature emerging artists of color. That will be August 26th for all of you who are out there.
That's awesome. Yes.
And we have authors and all different mediums of art.
And we have so many creatives, which is so wonderful.
And it's
in our
a
community.
wonderful thing. And then one of the other things I do, I'm involved with the Clay Art Guild of the Hamptons, and I'm on the board there. And we have teaching studios. I've taught a couple of classes there, but that's not my passion.
Okay.
What I enjoy doing is working with the children at Bridgehampton Child Care Center.
Yes, yes.
I'm the clay teacher there.
Wow.
And we have a good time with the clay. The children enjoy making little things they can take home
Yes.
to their family, and we make gifts for their parents for holidays. So, you know, I stay very busy with this,
I love
not just being in my studio.
I love it. Danielle, what's your dream?
Well, I'm young still.
Yes.
I hope. Just turned 30, I guess.
Oh.
But
Very young.
I've been practicing art all of my life. I had the great joy and luck that my parents were always extraordinarily supportive of my art career, and I've never not done art. Something that I'm really passionate about, honestly, is going into curatorial work. Like, not just being an artist, not just sitting at the table as an artist, but also being able to nurture people and to be able to show work, and also not just having people see Black and brown artists, but also understand what the work is, not just have it so that it's exhibits for Black and brown artists, but that they're included. You're understanding the history, you're going back. It's not just the fact that there's future and now artists, but that there was like artists in the past that they were never really speaking of. We were, but that was never necessarily put out there in like these high museums, these galleries. They were just never there, and now that they're looking at it because of a lot of Black Lives Matter movements, a lot of things that people are just like able to be like, oh yes, of course, there's Black people that we should be able to nurture and we should look at their work, but
So
we
not
should
just say my name, but show my work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that you're just like putting it out there right now, but that it was always there.
And we want you to meet our first show. We have a curator of Eastville, and we want you to make sure that you get to sit down with Dr. Georgette. I'm sure you have, Key Greer. And so we're so excited for what you're doing. So how do you, when you're on the beach, everyday life, do you get ideas for pottery? Or you're in the sand, but you also like the clay. So kind of talk to us about the earth.
I'm always watching for different forms that I might be able to use, or different things that could be used for texture on the clay to decorate it, or just looking at like the color of the water and being inspired by that, or the way the waves turn, how to be inspired by that. So there's some things I'm working on in my studio now that have some inspiration from the beach.
So as a writer, Danielle, I call it watching the waves dance. So I get ideas in my head in terms of what to write. So for graphic artists, what are you watching in life?
I had a professor that told me that you should be inspired and that you should look at everything that's happening, current events, something that you read. So I'm always reading new books. I'm always looking at new artists. I like to play different games, just look at different TV shows. I like to be inspired by life. I like looking at things and just understanding that I'm here, and it's beautiful.
And you have a beautiful voice, and you inspire us. And Dr. Granger, you inspire us. Won't you join me in thanking our artists, our potter and our graphic artist, Dr. Beverly Granger and Danielle Lagarde. Come on, let's give it up for our present, past, and future. Thank you so much. You were wonderful, and you look gorgeous, all of you. I love it. Thank you so much.
Well, we are here with the inimitable Carl Weber, and it is a delight to have you both as a neighbor, a friend, and certainly as a Hollywood producer star. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, we're celebrating, the life of Black Americans on the East End, and you certainly are one whom we celebrate. Tell us about your time on the East End. You were raised out here?
Well, I spent, 99% of my summers in Sag Harbor as a child. I mean, I can't remember spending the summer anywhere else.
Yes, yes.
And, being a part of the communities, it's been great. A lot of us that have parents that went to college or grandparents that went to college and they began that cycle. We grew up in, we didn't all grow up in African-American neighborhoods. I mean, a lot of people grew up in New Rochelle, Westchester. I grew up in Long Island and in Queens for a little bit. So the neighborhoods didn't reflect who we were.
Exactly.
So
what does Sag Harbor mean to you then?
You know what? Well, one of the things I made sure was that when I was able, that I bought a house, my own house, to raise my kids, so they could understand what the community of being able to come out in the summertime and being around really intelligent, not just young people, but having icons. I grew up with Earl Graves, down the block, and we had so many, Wimpy, the artist, and so many really, really prominent, cool people were in our neighborhood. Mr. Williams with the architecture and building. Yeah. And every time you turned around, there was somebody. And my family we used to have a lot of parties.
I know, that's the thing. And
we were one of the first homes to have an in-ground pool. So it was like a party. If the kids weren't having a party, the adults were having a party. Exactly. It was a really, really interesting time. And right now there's so many people that I see and we talk to. And I remember before Ambassador Brown became, Secretary of Commerce. I remember going over to Tracy and Michael's house.
Exactly.
It was a really interesting time, and to meet young Black people that we couldn't wait until the Christmas cotillion at the Copacabana to see everybody again, even in the winter.
Exactly. Yes, I know. And the generations, we were saying we're doing a live audience, and we were saying that everything we do really is intergenerational. We have the icons, we have the young ones, we have the pool ones who want to swim in the pool, and it's just wonderful to be one big village and one big family. So talk about Hollywood.
Really?
You took all of that, and you're one of our creatives. We have a very creative community in Azure. There's so many of us.
We do.
But tell us the two pieces you're working on now in Hollywood.
Well, actually, I'm working on 4 pieces right now.
Oh my goodness! So name the 4 for us.
Yeah, so we're pretty lucky. I'm the showrunner of a show called The Family Business, which is based on one of my books. And from The Family Business, I was talking to a BET executive. We're on BET Plus.
Right.
Right now, we're actually their number one and 2 show.
I love it.
So, and then it was like, well, where did you grow up? What do you think? I was like, I had this thing in the Sag Harbor. He goes, oh, we should do a show about Sag Harbor. I said, well, maybe not Sag Harbor, but how about the Black Hamptons?
Right, and so that's what you're out in Hollywood doing right now, correct?
So yeah, we just wrapped. We just wrapped the 2nd season of Black Hamptons, which is, was an NAACP nominated show last year. So we're really excited about that. And now,
what were the other two? What the other 2 projects?
I just finished writing the first season. All 8 episodes of the first season of a show that's going to be on WeTV called Bev is Boss, which
I love it.
Loosely based on Deb Anthony. I don't know if you know who Deb Anthony is.
Yes.
She's a prolific manager and music producer. So we're doing a story on her life. She was a very interesting woman that grew up in the Queens area, and her family.
And what's your 4th one? Because we're almost running out of time.
Yeah, and the 4th one is a spinoff of Family Business called Family Business New Orleans. So we're really excited about that too. So
oh my goodness! I want a little cameo part. I just want to walk the red carpet. That's all I'm asking. Not a lot. I just want to walk the red carpet.
Careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for.
Oh, I'm asking. So our show's going to end. We celebration, and our show's going to end with celebrating the new graduates. We had like 5 graduates from Sag Harbor this year. What would be your message to someone who's young going forward, whatever their career is going to be? We have a lawyer, we have the gamut. What is your advice for young people in terms of following their dream as you did yours?
Well, I'm going to say the same thing I tell my kids. Keep to what you believe in, strive for what you want, and don't give up, because, who the heck would have thought that I would be a Hollywood producer, right? But I decided I was going to do it, and I did it. So, whatever you put your mind to, you can do, and don't let anybody talk you out of it. You just have to find different ways to go around things and obstacles.
Well, we want to thank you for sharing this time with us. Your mother's home was the first one that I rented when we were considering buying in Sag Harbor. And your grandmother and I were in the same church together, First Baptist Bridgehampton. So you're part of the family, and I'm part of your family. There's a whole audience here. What would you like to say to the audience? Just give them a greeting.
Well, all I can say to everybody is, we're going through some very interesting times around the world. So everybody just be safe, and be happy, because we only have one life. So
one life to live.
That's right.
As you're searching for tomorrow, and as you're part of the Black Hamptons, all of those, I love it. So we're just excited about you. We thank you for taking the time, and I want to visit you on the set, but you're on our set today at LTV. We want to give a shout out to them, but certainly celebrating you and all that you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing this time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So we are so excited to have East Hampton resident Noel Hankin, who is the author of After Dark, Birth of the Disco Dance Party. Are there any discoers up in the house? Let's hear it say yeah. Well, welcome, and thank you for coming. After a corporate career, you made it possible for those of us who were in college during that era to be able to come to clubs like Leviticus. So tell us what the Friends was all about.
Best of Friends like to party. So we formed a social club, and the idea was not to make money. The idea was to create great parties where people had fun. That was our goal. And one day, when I started in the corporate world, 1970, I worked in Midtown Manhattan at Young and Rubicam, the big ad agency.
Wow.
And I noticed that after work, the handful of black folks who worked in Midtown, these junior executives, they left Midtown right after work. And I realized that we had an opportunity to create a party for them to stay in Midtown. They were already well-dressed. They had money in their pocket. They were the kind of people that would be my target audience.
Yes.
So we put together an event, a dance party, after work, 5 to 9.
I love it.
At the Ginza. And we invited people to come and pay $3 to get in, and they got a drink ticket.
Wow.
$3, they got a drink. You couldn't say no to that. Plus, the establishment gave them a plate of Chinese food. It was lo mein or chow mein.
Oh, I love it.
So you can have dinner too.
I love it.
But I wanted to say this. The proprietor was concerned because we were in our 20s, a group of 8 young black men, and he said he wanted a $1,000 guarantee across the bar. That's in 1971. That's $7,500 today. We knew we had a following.
Yes.
And because we had a following and 3,000 names in our mailing list, we accepted that requirement, and we met it and exceeded it. And in fact, it was so successful. Yeah.
And that's before social media and all of that. You had your contact list, your Rolodex.
We had no social media, of course, but also we were concerned about mass media, and we did not use mass media. We didn't use it because crime was out of control in New York City, so bad that white flight left some of these clubs that were previously prestigious available to us. Because when we came knocking at the door, they didn't really want us, but they needed us. And so we brought our crowd in. Our crowd spent the money across the bar. We took the door.
I love it. And so what years are we speaking?
1971 is when we started.
Okay.
By 1973, we started building our own clubs.
Wow.
And within a couple of years, we owned 5. 3 were the first black-owned clubs in Midtown Manhattan. Well, that's Leviticus, Justine's, and Bogart's. And then we had Lucifer's in Queens. And we had Brandy's in Brooklyn. So we had 5 clubs.
Are there any Lucifers in here? Are there any Justines in here? Any Leviticus? All right. What were the other 2?
Bogart's.
Any Bogarts?
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
And
Did
Brandy's.
you reach your, what was the last one?
Brandy's in Brooklyn.
Anybody, Brandy's in Brooklyn?
You know what? Let me say something about Brandy's. It was kind of a little bit of a white elephant. It was a great-looking club, our best-looking club. But it was in Brooklyn. Now, Brooklyn was populated with after-hours clubs. They didn't adhere to the law. They didn't care about the 4 a.m. curfew. We closed at 4 a.m., so if people would roll in around 2 a.m., and when we call last call at 3:30 or so, they would get upset. Last call? What? Because they were used to go until like 9, 10 in the morning.
The next day?
Yeah, next day. But we decided up front we will never do anything that's illegal.
Okay.
Because once you do that, keep in mind, the mafia was at full strength in 1971 and those early 70s, full strength. And if they detected that you were doing something illegal, they got you.
You met your wife during that season as well?
I met my wife. I met my wife before we built our first club.
Love it, Gwen.
Yeah, we were at La Martinique.
At the Martinique.
La Martinique, yeah. La Martinique was an existing supper club that had people like Frank Sinatra. You go there, have dinner, and listen to Frank Sinatra on a low-rise stage with an orchestra, big
wow.
orchestra. Now, when we got there, we said, look, we're going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring in our sound equipment. We brought in like 9 Bose speakers, 4 big black boxes on the stage. We put the DJ right on the stage and brought our crowd. And our crowd knows how to dance.
Yeah, oh, we know how to dance.
And we turned it out. It just turned it into a totally different experience.
So your last call was 3:30 for a 4 o'clock closing.
Oh,
What
yeah.
time did you start?
Well, typically, we opened at 9, but typically people came around 9, 10, like that, 10:30.
Well, we want to thank you because we had places to go that were safe places when we came home from college and to meet our friends. So thank you for opening up those doors.
Yeah.
What are you most proud about? Yeah, let's give it up for him. Thank you. We had places to go.
Well, I think what we contributed to was a lot of successful marriages. A lot of people met and married at our clubs.
Wow.
And
You
we
have
had
any-
a lot of weddings there, too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You have any new clubs to open? Some of us are looking right now. I'm not talking about anyone
That's
in
a good point.
particular.
That's a
but
good point.
We may need a new club. Raise your hand or look straight ahead.
That's why weddings aren't working so well these days. These marriages are ending left and right.
So you said something important. You said that you knew your audience, and that's a big part of business success.
Yes.
So who was your target audience? And in addition to your Rolodex or whatever way you contacted them, how did you define your target audience? How did they find you?
Well, I was one of the few of us in this group of 8 guys who worked in Midtown, and I could see that there was an audience that was growing, small but growing, young black executives, male and female, working in Midtown Manhattan. When we opened our first club, something surprising happened. I had no idea it was going to take place like that. Everyone else liked to go to the discotheque too. So we didn't just get young blacks who were executives in Midtown. We got people who worked in service industries and blue-collar jobs in the outer boroughs who went home after work, changed into their suits, and came back.
I love it.
And you know what? Once they get inside the room with their suit on, you can't tell them apart.
That's right.
And I'll
that's
tell
right.
you one other thing I learned from the discotheque business, because it becomes apparent, and it'll resonate when I tell you. You step on the dance floor, it doesn't matter what your life station is. You can be anything.
And that's the way we're going to end the show
Everybody's
tonight.
equal on the dance floor.
Well, we're going to invite Andrea Kottman up, and we're going to invite Danielle. We're going to have somebody from each generation, because we ain't going to end today. Where can they get your book After Dark?
Well, it's available wherever books are sold, Barnes & Nobles, on Amazon.com, wherever.
After Dark, Birth of the Disco Dance Party, and this is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. Anybody remember albums before?
Yeah, Sugar
And
Hill
we
Gang.
have the Sugar Hill Gang, and we're going
Yeah.
to go out on that. Andrea, come on up, and we're going to dance this night away. We thank you for being with Live with Sujay. We're all the way live. Lady K, and all of our sponsors, thank you. Hilux Water, Elisa Lawrence, Adjurest, all of you, the Fizz Butt Soda, thank you for sponsoring us, and the Foster Phillips Funeral Home. Come on, anybody who's ready to dance our night away, can I hear this dance? Uh-oh. Anybody who's ready to dance, come on up. We're going to dance this night away. Come on up. Come on, Miss Audrey. Uh-oh. Anybody, come on, Brenda. Anybody who's ready to dance tonight away, come on, Miss Lisa. Come on. Come on, come on, come on.